Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here, and let me start by saying his name was Seth Rich. You see, there has been a concerted effort to spread disinformation regarding Seth Rich and his role with WikiLeaks and outright lie about where the DNC hacks, which were not hacks at all by any stretch of the imagination, came from, and pin it on Russia. And I've been telling you from the very beginning that the FBI was in fact lying. And one of the things that people did not focus on enough, in my opinion, was the Mueller report and how they had mentioned Seth Rich a couple of times in regards to Julian Assange essentially spreading quote-unquote conspiracy theories that he was the leaker. And if you notice here, and I absolutely 100% focused on this when this came out, was that the investigative techniques and other information was completely blacked out, and they immediately passed it to the GRU, okay? And how WikiLeaks, Guccifer 2 were the ones responsible for the leaks, and this was misinformation. And here we are today in February waiting on an extradition hearing for Julian Assange for cyber terrorism and espionage, when they've been lying about this thing since the very beginning. And now what we want to focus on is, again, more evidence that not only does the FBI have records on Seth Rich, like we reported on when we were the ones reporting on the phone call that had been leaked of Seymour Hersh talking about the FBI record of Seth Rich and the investigation that went into that and what they found and everything. We're going to play that at the end of this because I know a lot of you have heard it. But I want to show you the new information first. Okay? So what we have here are now screenshots and leaks after Freedom of Information Act requests between Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, the two infamous FBI agents involved in what? The Russian investigation into Trump, the one that had no fruit at all, that turned into obstruction of justice, that in fact the evidence showed they were actively trying to not allow him to get elected. Okay? These are facts. You can be uncomfortable with these facts, but they are in fact real. And now, when we talk about Rich and this email exchange, okay, and the fact that he's asking for all the records the FBI has on the Seth Rich investigation, which of course they do have records, and we've been saying it from the beginning, that's now leaking through the cracks. So how much longer are we going to go with this Russian facade, this charade? I also need to point out that NPR, okay, has subpoenaed the conversations Cassandra Fairbanks has had with Julian Assange and a host of other people. And we're going to get into those other people and how they fit into this whole Seth Rich leaks fiasco, I guess you could call it. Because there's like I said, there's a lot of misinformation, a lot of purposeful disinformation, and we're going to get it. So let's talk about Cassandra for a minute. Now, I have never met Cassandra Fairbanks personally. I've never spoken to her. She worked briefly for We Are Change. My buddy Luke had a relationship with her, where she was writing for the organization and putting out material prior to, obviously, big league politics and other orgs that she worked for a time, okay? Now, she's been very, very adamant about Assange. Now, one of the other things I actually like about Cassandra is she's criticized the Trump administration. Now, does that mean she's perfect? No. But it is laughable that in this, they also want her conversations or information regarding quote-unquote Seth Rich as if she could have had any. As if she was covering Seth Rich before he died. And if you don't know about Cassandra's story, she said that she was pulled to the side, and Julian Assange did not outright say that he gave the leaks to Seth, but basically hinted to her that he, how would you do it? and made a payment through eBay of $20,000. Okay? And remember, the conspiracy theory they refer to in the Mueller report is the fact that Assange started talking about Seth Rich and giving a $20,000 reward to those who had to find out those who had murdered him. Okay? Period. So let's check this out right now. Let's see what they want from her. Now, NPR getting involved is pretty ridiculous. Okay, but here it is. Here's that subpoena. Okay, you can see it right here. And here's the next part of it. Now let's talk about these people. Ed Butowski is a guy, I guess, that worked for Breitbart. Seemed to be one of these kind of right-wing type operatives, journalists. Okay, now he's the one that recorded these phone calls with Seymour Hersh that we're going to play. That, again, suggests that not only is there an FBI document, okay, a document on the investigation of Seth Rich, again, them lying this entire time, and now that coming out through Strzok and Page, but that it says that they facilitated the download through a encrypted Dropbox. And I guess it comes out later in court, it was a payment through eBay. And in court, Seymour Hersh may say that Butowski took 1 and 1 or 2 and 2 and made 41. But apparently Andrew McCabe, one of the biggest Trump haters out there, at least in public, was the guy that leaked that document to Hersh. Now, I don't know who Chapwood is. Rod Wheeler is the private investigator that Butowski hired from the very beginning. And now here's where it gets a little more shifty, these two gentlemen, Manuel Chavez and Thomas Schoenberger. Now, Chavez himself is this character that keeps trying to reinvent himself on the internet. DeFango, now he's elusive man. He claims to be one of the creators of Q. A lot of people have fought me on that, but from my account, it seems like at least he was in the room at the DEF CON meeting that started the original Q on the 8chan boards, I believe it was. Okay, and you can look into that. You can look into Microchip and Dreamcatcher and the Discord logs that are out there. But Schoenberger also supposedly in that room. Now, Schoenberger has a long and sordid history of being banned, all sorts of lawsuits. These guys are in all sorts of court documents. And if you see what Chavez does, he likes to attach himself to something and act like he's your friend. Like recently, he did this with Gabe Hoffman and then just go off. And there's a whole LARP world, and God knows what those two are up to, okay, and how they got involved. And that's where a lot of the disinformation, misinformation really starts to burn through. You look at Trevor Fitzgibbons, and he's one of the lawyers for Assange. And he's involved in all this, okay? So the DeFango at Proton Mail would be Chavez. And then Shadowbox, has never proven to exist, but it's what Manuel Chavez put out there, which was basically a network of these people that were reputation management. What does that mean? Disinformation artists, people creating fake accounts and fake stories and all, basically, as much misinformation, disinformation, PR that you could put out there and spin for hire. All right? Malia Zimmerman doesn't ring a bell. Housley doesn't ring a bell. Obviously, Fox News big. Matt Couch, he was at some kind of meeting that accordingly, Shadowbox was created in. All right? I don't know much about America First Media. Obviously, Assange, WikiLeaks, Seymour Hersh, we all know. In fact, we're going to play the Seymour Hersh audio next, so you guys can decide for yourselves what you think. But notice the mainstream media never focused on that audio, never even put it out there. That's how controlled this is, not one network. And then you got Corsi, and that's a whole bag of worms. Admiral James A. Lyons. Now, when they say this, members of Veteran Intelligence Professionals for Sanity, I don't know who Larry Johnson is, but Binney and McGovern, obviously, I'm very familiar with. And McGovern also got subpoenaed. I had him on my show in right after the 24 videos last month. And it was after being a guest with him on Action for Assange and talking about how he'd been subpoenaed in one of these cases with the Rich family. I thought that was important. Now, Seth Rich is interesting, right? Because why would they name Seth Rich unless they're suspicious that Cassandra Fairbanks had some contact with Seth Rich before he was dead? which is absolutely ludicrous since, he was a pretty big unknown. So then you have the Rich family, basically, and they're the ones that lawyered up Guccifer 2.0. And, Guccifer 2.0's identity has never really been revealed. You can go through all the documentation. Ellen Ratner is another one of these people that says that she talked to Assange, and he claimed it wasn't the Russians, hinted at this whole thing that it was, a direct download and a paid-for leak. Obviously, Oliver Darcy is the CNN guy, and then Laura Logan, Burkett, etc. All right, so there you go. And then they talk about documents and communications, and now NPR litigation. I mean, we're going big here. So Cassandra Fairbanks gets a subpoena. I would imagine that McGovern's subpoena may have been similar, but I can't guarantee you that either. All right, so let's get to Hirsch and his audio. Now, out of the gates, Hirsch says that he doesn't think that the DNC murdered the guy. Okay, so let's do it.
About the kid, and I'll tell you what I know. What I know comes off an FBI report. Don't ask me how you can figure out. I've been around long enough. The kid gets, I don't think he was murdered. I don't think he was murdered because of what he knew. The kid's a nice boy, 27. He was not an IT expert, but he learned stuff. He was a data programmer, but he learned stuff. And so he's living on one street somewhere. He's living in a very rough neighborhood. And in the exact area where he'd been, there've been about 10, I'm sure you know this, there've been about 8 or 9 or 10 violent, robberies, most of them with somebody brandishing a gun. And it's the kid's hands, I'm telling you, I'm sure you know it, his hands were marked up. The cops concluded he fought off the people, tried to run in, he shot him twice in the back with it.
All right, so let's stop it right there. And by the way, Candace Gavin, thank you so much for that $20 super chat sticker. You are amazing, my friend. Thank you. So right there he says he kind of exonerates himself from putting any kind of conspiracy forward that this could have been a paid-for hire hit, right? He says he's in a rough neighborhood. There were 8 or 9, violent robberies, that assaults, etc., murders, all that stuff in his area. But then he says that he fought the guy up, that his hands were all marked up. All right? So that's key. What he's talking about right here is that investigation into Seth Rich by the FBI that now slowly but surely we're seeing confirmation of with these Freedom of Information Act leaks. All right, that are confirming things that I guess I'm not super surprised that it was Strzok and Page that were looking into Seth Rich, but the fact that that's never been brought up in the media is absolutely astounding.
22, small caliber. And then the kids that did it ran. They got scared, didn't take his wallet. Okay, so what the cops do then, and here's what nobody knows, what I'm telling you. Now, maybe you know something about it. When you have a death like that, DC cops, if you're dead, you generally don't just go, you have to find out what's going on. You have to get to the kid's apartment and see what you can find. If he's dead, you don't need a warrant, but most cops get a warrant because they don't know if the guy has a roommate. You need a warrant. So they get a warrant. I'm just telling you, there is such a thing. They go in the house and they can't do much with his computer. It's password. The cops don't know much about it. So the D.C. cops, they have a cyber unit in D.C., and they're more sophisticated. They come and look at it. The idea is maybe he's had a series of exchanges with somebody who says, I'm going to kill you, motherfucker, over a girl, and they can't get in. The cyber guys do a little better, but they can't make sense of it. So
let's just stop that. So right out of the gates, we understand now that Rich was smart enough to encrypt his computer to the point where the DC cyber unit could not access his material, okay? And Hirsch is very, very clear that they got a warrant to go into his apartment after the murder, okay?
They call the FBI cyber unit. The DC unit, the Washington field office, is a hot shit unit. The guy running the Washington field office, he's like a 3-star at an army base. He's already looking for 4. You know what I mean? He's going to go with a top job. There's a cyber unit there that's excellent. What you get in a warrant, the public information you get in a warrant doesn't include, it does not include the affidavit underlying why you're going in, what the reasons are. That's almost never available on. I can tell you that. The existence of a warrant is a public document 99% of the time. So, on the same warrant, they call in the feds. The feds get through, and here's what they find. This is according to the FBI report. What they find is he makes first of all, you have to know some basic facts.
So let's stop before I want to make everything clear. Let's recap it again. Murdered, fights off his attackers, supposedly was being robbed. Who knows what happens, but was shot in the back. DC police get a warrant, go in, can't check his computer, bring in the cyber unit from DC. They can't crack it. Now we have the FBI in the case. Now, the FBI has always denied that they had any information on Seth Rich. And remember, when you go into the Mueller report, the only time you see Seth Rich is and really Julian Assange is almost never mentioned either. I want to point that out. But the only time you see Seth Rich is when Julian Assange is trying to promote the false conspiracy theory that he was the leaker. Okay? So now we're into real FBI investigation and what took place. And all of this has been hidden from the public. You notice you've never heard this Hirsch audio, a Pulitzer Prize winning author. All right? The guy that wrote about Abu Ghraib and all those leaks that WikiLeaks put out afterwards from Manning.
One of the basic facts is there's no DNC or Podesta email that exists beyond May 22nd, May 21st, 22nd. It's the last email for either one of those groups. And so what the report says that sometime in late spring, we're talking about June, summer's in June 21st, late spring would be after, I presume, I don't know, I just say it says late spring, early summer. He makes contact with WikiLeaks. That's in his computer, and he makes contact. Now,
so let's stop. In the computer, makes contact with WikiLeaks.
I have to be careful because I met Julian and Julian 10, 12 years. I stay the fuck away from people like that. And he said, invited me, and when I'm in London, I always get a message, come see me as the Ecuadorian ambassador, and there's no fucking way I'm going there.
Listen, think about that. He met Julian many years ago, and now that he's in the Ecuadorian embassy at this point, all right, Hirsch is like, fuck that, I'm not going there. He knew the place was under full surveillance, all right? Remember, they were taping people in the bathroom of that Ecuadorian embassy on behalf of the CIA through a private Israeli firm, I think connected to Sheldon Adelson. Lynette, thank you so much for that super sticker. Thumbs this up. Subscribe if you're new to the Burmese Brigade, because we do the deep dives into the documents, into the stuff that's out there that nobody else is talking about, nobody else will touch. Okay? Even in tomorrow's news today, we're going to tell you the truth. How much of this is there? Huh? Are they still following this? No, because it involves Julian Assange. This was always a perjury trap. That's all it ever was. They were trying to get Trump into a perjury trap. They knew there were no Russians. We now know this, but hey, let's continue on. Let's see what else they knew that he contacted WikiLeaks. What else, Seymour?
He has enough trouble without getting photographed by every fucking age. He's under total surveillance by everybody. But anyway, they found what he had done. He had submitted a series of documents, of emails, some juicy emails from the DNC. And, by the way, all this shit about the DNC, whether hacked, it wasn't hacked, but whatever happened, the Democrats themselves wrote this shit. You know what I mean? All I know is that he offered a sample, an extensive sample, I'm sure dozens of emails, and said, I want money. That later, WikiLeaks did get the password. He had a Dropbox, a protected Dropbox, which isn't hard to do. I mean, you don't have to be a wizard, IT wizard. He was certainly, he's not a dumb kid. They got access to the Dropbox. He also, and this is also in the FBI report, he also let people know with whom he was dealing. And I don't know how he dealt. I'll tell you about WikiLeaks in a second. I don't know how he dealt with the WikiLeaks and the mechanism, but he also...
Now let's stop. So he doesn't talk about the eBay payment, but that's where Cassandra Fairbanks comes in. Let me just minimize this. That's why we were talking about Cassandra Fairbanks, her conversations with Julian Assange. And remember, Hirsch is not a dumb guy. He knew that he was under 24/7 surveillance in Ecuador. All right? Think about that. This guy's been under 24/7 surveillance for close to a decade. He's in Belmar prison under false pretenses. He's an Australian citizen, and his organization is still publishing relevant documents. Meanwhile, none of this is being covered in the mainstream media. None of these lawsuits, none of this truth, none of the fact that now we have even more documentation. Yes, the FBI did do this investigation that I've been talking about since the beginning. Okay, so let's continue on, because now he's gonna continue to talk about. Remember, he doesn't know the money mechanism, but in court, it's been said it was that eBay transaction.
The word was passed according to the FBI report. I also shared this box with a couple of friends. So if anything happens to me, it's not going to solve your problem. Okay? I don't know what that means. I don't know whether he was... Anyway, but WikiLeaks got access, and before he was killed, I can tell you right now, Brennan's an asshole. I've known all these people for years. Clapper's sort of a better guy, but not rocket scientist. The NSA guy is a fucking moron. And the trouble with all those guys is that the only way they're going to make it to a board or two and get hired by SAIC to deliver some fat cat contracts is if Hillary stayed in. With Trump, they're gone. They're done. They're going to live on their pension. They're not going to make it. And I got to tell you, guys in that job, they don't want to live on their pension. They want to be on boards like they're make $600,000 for going to 4 visits. I have somebody on the inside. I've been around a long time and I read a lot of stuff. I have somebody on the inside who will go and read a file for me. This person is unbelievably accurate and careful. He's a very high-level guy. He'll do a favor.
That's the guy. He's saying it's McCabe right there. I got a guy.
You're just going to have to trust me. I have what they call it in my business, long-form journalism. I have a narrative of how that whole fucking thing began. It's a Brennan operation. It was an American disinformation, and the fucking president. At one point, when they even started telling the press, they were back briefing the press. The head of the NSA was going and telling the press. This fucking cocksucker Rogers was telling the press that we even know who in the GRU, the Russian military intelligence service, leaked it. I mean, all bullshit. They were telling these two. I worked at the New York Times for fucking years, and the trouble with the fucking New York Times is they have smart guys, but they're totally beholden on sources. If the president or the head of the CIA tells them something, they actually believe it. I was hired at the Times to write about it, to go after the war, in the Vietnam War in '72, because they were just locked in. So that's what the Times is. These guys run the fucking Times.
These guys run the fucking Times. Cy Hirsch ain't perfect. But at least he's out there saying the final book hasn't been written on 9/11 either. He's no dummy. Okay? He's no fucking dummy. And where's the mainstream media on any of this? Where's the mainstream media on the fact that now we have a very censored exchange about the FBI records on Seth Rich between Lisa Page, Peter Strzok, and others? Where are you, media? Where are you? I'm asking. I'm begging. I'm wondering. And by the way, Zero Hedge's Twitter was just recently suspended. A lot of people suspect it's over the coronavirus coverage, but I'm pointing that out there. Guys, if you like this video, now's the time to thumb it up. Subscribe to the Burmese Brigade. We're trying to get to 40,000. Share this stuff on your blogs, on social media, please. We're doing 5 exclusive videos a week at rockfin.com. If you hit endorse Jason Burmese and pay the $9.99 for the month, you get all of my content. So that's 5 times 4. You're going to get 20 extra videos every single month. That's kind of like a Patreon deal. But it's better because you get Ben Askren, you get Chael Sonnen, you get Graham Elwood, Placone, and many other people. So go check out rockfin.com/Jason Burmese. It's in the links below. Please subscribe 3 to 7 times a day. We did something on the show trial of Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. If you missed me getting punched in the face the other night, go check that one out. It's a real deal. We're going to be covering Jonathan Pollard later and his story. I mean, that's an incredible story most people are completely unaware of, and it shows Israeli intelligence working their networks against us for some time. I'm a documentary filmmaker. Loose Change, Final Cut, Fabled Enemies, Invisible Empire, A New World Order to Find, and Shade the Motion Picture are free right here in the documentaries playlist section. Thumbs them up, check them out, share them with friends and family as well. And if you like what I do, $5, $10, $15, it means the world to me. It's how I'm doing this day in and day out. It's how I can do 3 to 7 videos a day. So if you like real media that's going to show you real stuff, I might not be selling you dick pills anytime soon. So I'm sorry if you're into the dick pills. I'm not selling them. I'm not selling you anything. I'm telling you the truth. And I'm letting you decide for yourself. And I'm covering media other people refuse to. So I love you guys, and I will see you all on the flip.